Support for this show and all the others on the Marketing Podcast Network is provided by Memento. Yes, you can use AI to make your job as a marketer easier. Let me introduce you to Memento, the newest marketing partner of the Marketing Podcast Network. Memento is built to put the power of AI in your hands. It writes social media captions, it does your transcript, it does so much stuff, and it even finds moments, hence Memento, in your show that you can repurpose as audiograms and other great little videos and audio clips. Have it watch or listen to a podcast and suggest, then make automatically social media posts to promote the show. Heck, it can even listen to the podcast episode and write a poem if you want to use that in your company blog. It's AI after all. So go check it out. MPN listeners can try it free at bit.ly/momento MPN. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/momento MPN. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's got the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I am, as always, your host, Seth. Today I have Christina Nicholson of Media Mavens, of Christina All Day, of the Huff Post, of her own podcast, which is a really good podcast. I love it. Become a Media Maven, which is a really good one. She is a former, or also recovering journalist, TV journalist from Florida. She did that for 10 years. Then she opened up her Media Maven PR agency. And then she has create online courses for solopreneurs and small businesses who want to learn how to get coverage in the media. Kind of makes sense because she was in the media, so she knows how to get in touch with people like herself. So that makes perfect sense. She writes for the Huff Post, Thrive Global, Business Insider, Fast Company, Boss Babe, and guess what? She was even a TEDx speaker. And I love this. I love her title, the title of her talk, Fake News, It's Your Fault. I love it. We'll talk a little bit about that, but let's bring Christina in here. Hello, friend and fellow recovering journalist extraordinaire.
Hello, Seth. Thank you for having me.
This is so much fun. We've talked a little bit in the past about the journalism experience that we both experienced. Like, it's fun until it's not. And then it's
Yeah,
like, oh my God.
exactly.
It's really what it is. It's fun until it's not, and you burn out. It's long hours. I mean, I was a newspaper guy. You were a TV person, but still, same thing.
Mhm.
Long hours. Only I could go in with scruff on if I had to work late. You couldn't go in with it. You mean you were on TV? You had to be
Yeah.
on, which is I think even more exhausting in my opinion.
Yeah,
It was
it
tough. And
is.
then
It's a lot.
you went into PR, which is a
Yeah.
logical transition. It's either marketing or PR journalists escape to. I always joked that it was the dark side, but sometimes I wonder if journalism's really the dark side and marketing isn't, because it's a lot easier to do when you've done the journalism thing. And so you started Media Mavens, and then you're like busy like I am, and you have 3 kids and your hubby. So you have 4
Yes.
kids sometimes.
Yes.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know how you do it all. I mean, you're a constant writer, you do your podcast. Oh, I forgot to mention your Podcast Clout site, which was a podcast database that made it easier for PR professionals to build podcast pitch lists, was acquired this year. That's
Yes.
pretty
So
cool.
I'm doing less because that was acquired.
A little bit. No, I think you've added more, it seems. I don't know. You're busy like I am, which is keeps structure going. I mean, when you have 3 kids, I'm sure. I mean, I have 1 kid and a dog and a wife, and structure is key to get this stuff done. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know how you do 3 kids and not
My
doing something else.
husband does most things. Like we have a
Oh,
sick boy at home today. He's out there
oh,
taking care of him. Yeah. So my husband is a stay-at-home dad. That happened during COVID when he was working full time. I had an infant and 2 kids in virtual school.
oh,
So I was
gee.
like, "Honey, you got to quit your job or I'm going to go freaking crazy." So he's always wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. So he's been a stay-at-home dad for about 3 years now, living his best life. So I
Oh,
get a
that's
lot of
awesome.
family help there. And then on the agency side, so I have a
Yeah.
PR agency, and then I also have the online courses that help business owners or
Yeah.
solopreneurs who don't have an agency budget. And on the agency side, I have a team that
Oh,
does
that's
most of
helpful.
the implementing for clients and all of that.
You make sure everyone gets paid is what you do.
Yeah, exactly. I make sure everybody gets paid. I make sure that the clients are happy, the team is happy, and they're amazing. So
That's
that's
awesome.
pretty easy.
So it's
Yeah.
good to have a at-home team and a at-work team. But you also are
Yeah, but it
prolific.
wasn't always like that.
Oh, I'm sure it's never like that. In the first years getting out of journalism, figuring out what to do. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because as a
Mhm.
journalist, you come up with your own, I mean, you do come up with your own stories from time to time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you
you're a
also are also handed by
storyteller.
the editorial desk, "Hey, Christina, go cover this mule that does arithmetic." Or that was more me, but, I literally I knew I made it when I had to go cover a donkey that could do arithmetic.
Oh my gosh, that's a
It
good
was a cute
story.
story. I enjoyed it. I mean, I blamed it on you. I gave you this story, but like, no, I did that story, and it was a cute story. But it was like, all right, yeah, this is journalism. It's not glamorous. It's not Woodward and Bernstein every day.
Yeah, no, I mean, at first it was like you said, it's fun until it's not fun. Like at first it was
Mhm.
fun, but after 12 hours of standing in a hurricane
Oh, you've
or
done that?
hanging yes.
I
I
never
have to
understood
tell
that.
people
It's
it's
windy. Just
windy
put
and
it.
rainy.
Literally, you don't have to put a person out there. Just show the palm trees going sideways.
Yes,
It's good
but people
enough.
like to see the people out there, and remember, the people sending us out there are in their air-conditioned office with access to food and a bathroom. They're the
I
ones
know.
sending us
You have
out
to
there.
avoid flying stop signs.
Yeah, exactly. We're the ones that have to be out there doing because that's what people watch, right? Like whatever gets ratings. So, unfortunately, crime stories get ratings, so we're outside crime
Ugh.
scenes all the time. And just after a few years, it got a little
Yeah, you did it for
old.
10.
Yeah, it got depressing. Then
Would
you
you?
have kids, you get softer and all of that. So, I needed something more flexible and something not as
Mhm.
depressing all day every day. I did do some fun stories every once in a while, but most of the time they weren't the human interest stuff that I enjoy.
Yeah, 'cause you did local news, right?
Yep, local news. Yeah, I worked from markets like New York City, Beaumont, Texas, Fort Myers, Florida, and then the last one was the Miami Fort Lauderdale market down here.
Ooh. So good weather when you have it, but not always the good weather because you get hurricanes. So I guess when you were in New York, you didn't have to do hurricanes as much, or were you there during Sandy? Did you have to be out there in
No, no,
Sandy?
no. I was there for a very short stint and it was in the winter, so it was cold.
It was
And then
cold,
down
but you didn't have
here,
hurricanes.
yeah, and then down here you have the hurricanes and then in the summer it's just so freaking hot that
I
it
can't believe it,
sucks.
yeah.
But it is what it is. That's the business and I loved it, but then I had a family and my goals changed. So
It
that's when I went
happens.
to the dark side, as you call it. And a
The
lot of
dark side.
people make this move just because we know how to pitch the media. We're on the receiving end of it.
Mhm. Oh
We know
god,
what
are
works
we
and
ever
what
one in the
doesn't.
media.
Yeah, we know what works and what doesn't because we're in those morning meetings and we know what is a good story and how to create a good story and how to put it
Mhm.
on air or in your case online or in print.
Yeah.
So I think it's a natural move to make when you are looking to do something different. And I worked at an agency for 6 months, but had a terrible boss, had the same problems I was trying to get away
Mhm.
from. Like I wanted that flexible schedule. I didn't want to commute 2
Yeah.
hours a day to sit in front of a computer when I could
Ugh.
save that time and do it from home. So, after working at an agency for 6 months, I just started my own, and I
Well, good for
started
you.
as a professional freelancer, and I just
Yeah.
started getting clients on LinkedIn or Upwork, and then after a couple of years and hiring a business coach, I knew better, so I did better, and then slowly started building a team, and
Good.
I
How big is your
would
team now?
right now, it is 5 people.
That's
Half
manageable.
yeah, half of them are former journalists, and then
Oh,
the other
wow.
half come from publicity, or,
That's
one actually comes from a book publisher. She did PR for them. So, I
oh, you
have
have
a
good
great
variety.
team. Yeah, I have a great variety because when
Yeah.
we get inbound clients, it's like, okay, this one is a
Mm.
lifestyle product sold online. So that goes to the e-commerce publicist. If we get a local
Yeah.
hotel or restaurant, then that one goes to the hospitality publicist.
We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
You get this done. You get this done to a system. I love it.
Yeah. And that's why we have, these specific publicists in place. Everyone has their niche. Everyone has their strengths. And they're all amazing. They're very self-sufficient. They don't need to be babysat. That's something I hate in corporate America. I feel like that's why a lot of people want you to go into the office. They want to babysit you. Like, listen, these are the goals. If you hit them, you do a good job, you get paid. Like, that's the way it is. I'm not going to babysit you. You don't want to be babysat. You want a flexible schedule. You want to just do your job and get paid. Like, it's not rocket science.
Yeah, just get your stuff done. And if you get your stuff done by 3, go hang out with your kids. Like, that's what I do with my people. I say literally, like, just get this stuff done. I mean, if you want to work at night to get it done,
I don't care where you work, when you work, what you wear when you work. Like, it's irrelevant. Are you hitting the goals? Yes. Good enough for me.
And that makes you a good boss because you're flexible. And I think that people crave the flexibility. And I think with everyone trying to get back into the office, they're realizing there's more than just coming into the office and the commute. So that's really good. So you also have ChristinaAllDay.com. So what's that? That's your personal brand.
A hobby.
A hobby.
Yeah, this is just like a fun thing for me. I can monetize it a little bit, but it's more so like a fun thing for me. Like, for example, this weekend, we're going to go to a 5-star resort on the beach here in Miami. We're going to create content. I'm going to share it on social media. I'm going to write a blog post about it. It's just a fun thing. I would love to grow it. I would love to get better at SEO on that specific website so I can monetize it with ads. But other things, it's always been on the back burner. It's been on the back burner for years. I don't treat it as a priority. And so that's why it's still like the side hustle hobby.
But it's good that everyone has to have a side hustle, even if it's, some people have their entrepreneurial journey as their side hustle and they work in corporate. Others are entrepreneurs and then they have a side hustle still because it's like, what is that thing? You can't just have just one, like lollipop or something like that. You can't just have just one. You have to have more. There's a candy out there that you can't just have one. And it's like when you're an entrepreneur, you're always kind of going. You're always kind of, oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna go try to do that too, kind of thing. So as an entrepreneur,
that's a problem. I think is like, and I don't know if you have a problem, Seth, but it's like I have so many tabs open right now on my laptop, and it's like, oh, I could learn this, but then could I implement that? Should I implement that? And it's like there's so much to do. I really need to like get focused and have tunnel vision on like one thing at a time because there's so many amazing people sharing amazing content and I just want to learn from them and implement what they're doing. But it's like, I'm one person. There's only so many hours in the day.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So what is the best thing about, because you've done a little bit of corporate PR, you've done the news business, which is its own beast. And now you're out on your own with the team and team at home, team at work. What's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
It's like the days when my husband and I can go out to lunch in the middle of the afternoon on a weekday.
Isn't that wonderful?
And it's no big deal. I don't have to worry about being back at a certain time or right now, yesterday and today, like the little guy was sick. So I laid in bed with him until 11 a.m. Like I would be scolded by a boss if, I did such a thing. So the best part is just being able to do these things. And the funny thing is that it's like, I still have an amazing work ethic. I can still do these things and get things done and have an amazing work ethic. And I feel like the way people look at corporate America, it's just so antiquated and they pay attention to things that don't even really matter in the short term or long term.
KPIs,
so I think just not dealing with that BS is lovely.
That's fantastic. So what keeps you up at night besides the kid being sick? I mean, business-wise, what keeps you up at night?
Business wise, I would say when there's ever any hurdle with a client or with a team
Mm,
member.
yeah,
I'm not a perfectionist, but when it comes to business, I am a people pleaser. And I
yeah,
always want the team and the clients to be happy. And a lot of what we do in public relations is out of our control. So if
mhm,
we have a client that wants coverage on a specific story, we'll do our best and set expectations, but
yeah.
sometimes the story isn't newsworthy, or sometimes the time of year isn't a good time of year to pitch it,
Yeah,
or
the newsroom's just
sometimes
busy.
yeah, sometimes I mean, there's just a lot that goes into it, and a lot is out of our control. And no matter how many times, I can educate and explain this to the client, that's when things get stressful for me.
Yeah.
And I think another thing, like this happened during COVID when we had a couple restaurant clients who were struggling. I
Oh,
had to, tell some publicists, like, look, we're probably going to lose these restaurant clients in a few months. And it's funny, like right after COVID, we actually got them a whole bunch of coverage because
they're
restaurants were doing
back! Yeah,
creative things with pickup, and people were supporting the restaurants and the servers in however ways they could, and that made a lot of coverage. But a few months after that, there was nothing more to tell. And the
yeah.
restaurants, they needed to save money. And unfortunately, the first thing a lot of businesses cut when it should be the last thing is the thing that gets them attention
It's
to get
PR and
more leads to
marketing.
do more business. But unfortunately, the first thing that they cut is PR. So, I had
Yeah,
to tell a couple of team members, like, look, we're going to lose this client. And I don't want to say fortunately, but I wasn't the only one that was going through that. I feel like it's an industry thing when a lot of people in PR or marketing are losing clients or it's
yeah.
slow. It's just very common amongst the industry. It's not just one or two.
It
It's just a
isn't.
sign of the times sometimes. But I would say those two things. It's really just like ensuring that the client and the team are happy.
I love it. I love it. And so, what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Like physically,
Or you can go as deep
mentally.
as you want on this.
Okay. Physically, your freaking phone, not to
Oh,
sound like a total
absolutely.
millennial, but like everything is on it.
I can run everything but
Like,
this podcast on it. I can even run this podcast on it, which is
right?
ironic. Yeah, it's crazy.
Physically, you need a phone. I always like to have a book too, whatever current book I'm reading. I like to have
Yeah.
that.
Something about a physical book too. It's kinda
I
nice.
like a physical book. I do have a Kindle, but I only use it when I travel.
Oh,
I
'cause
just
easier to yeah, it's
prefer
later.
I just prefer a physical book. I don't know. And then I'll do audiobooks, but
Yeah.
I've listened to audiobooks a lot less since I started my own business just because I'm not in the car as much.
Yeah, you don't have to
So,
commute.
yeah, and right now it's very warm outside in South Florida, so I'm not
Oh,
walking outside. So, I'm not listening to as many audiobooks. So, physically, I would say you carry that.
yeah.
Um, Mentally or internally,
Yeah.
I would say you always need to carry kindness, especially
Yes.
now when there's so many crazy ass people out there saying crazy things and just being ridiculous. Don't be a Karen, carry
Yeah.
kindness.
I feel bad
And
for Karens that are not Karens. I feel bad
I
that we
know
call up
it's
that
a
name. I feel
tough
so bad.
name to have right now. It's a
That
tough
and
name.
Chad. Or
So I would
Chad?
say
Yeah.
kindness and confidence.
Ooh, kinda those are 2 really good ones.
Yeah.
Very needed right now. And so where's your big watering hole online? Because you are a social media person. Like, you're on Instagram, but what's your favorite, like, online space? If there is one,
Well,
doesn't how you don't have to have one.
it's funny you ask because Instagram, I don't do any business there. And not too long ago, I created a Media Maven Instagram because I wanted to keep personal and business separate on
Yeah.
Instagram because I wanted to keep Instagram fun. I don't want to be one of those business owners that
Mhm.
stresses about the algorithm and everything else. Like, I wanted to keep it fun. So I
Yeah.
created a Media Maven Instagram, but I'm not like posting to it very much.
No,
So,
I have so many Instagram accounts. I mean, honestly, Instagram tells me about Instagram accounts I set up a while ago that I forgot about. It's like, "Hey,
yeah.
you should follow Seth." I'm like, "Well, that is me." I didn't know I had that account.
I don't need to follow him. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, Instagram and TikTok are fun for me. That's where like the Christina all day lifestyle stuff comes out.
Yeah.
And then professionally, I would say LinkedIn is probably the biggest one for
Yeah.
me just because that's where I get most of my business leads would
Oh,
be
that's
LinkedIn.
awesome.
I'm not amazing at it. Like, I'm not like, one of these big thought leaders on LinkedIn, but I like LinkedIn. Twitter's great just because, as you
Or
know, that's like
X
the
or
news
whatever. Yeah.
platform. That's like quick, short, get it all you need, like if I
Yeah.
fall asleep and I need to know who won the Miami Heat game, I just go to Twitter and I search Miami
Yeah.
Heat and I find it.
That's great.
So I like those for business. And then Facebook is just there because it just needs to be there because it was the first one.
Stay in touch with mom, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Because that's all the place they're at. So, well,
Mhm.
Christina, thank you so much for being on. This is so much fun. I'm glad we got to get together on the podcast. And make sure you check out her podcast, which
Yeah,
is
come on over.
Becoming a
Become a
Media
Media Maven.
Maven. It's so good. I mean, there's some solo episodes, some pontification episodes, and she has people on every once in a while, which is nice. So it's
Yeah.
a
And
great
I'm an
podcast. I enjoy it.
oversharer. Yeah,
Uh
you will hear on the podcast I overshare a lot.
oh. Well, this has been great, Christina. Thank you for taking the time out. I'm going to let you go take care of your sick little baby boy.
My
Oh,
honey.
poor kiddo.
Thank you, Seth.
All right, and we'll see everyone next. That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Neville Hobson and Shell Holtz are the legendary hosts of FIR4 Immediate Release, a great podcast. Shell, tell us what these fine folks will get when they listen.
Well, Jason Neville and I have been producing FIR since January of 2005. It's the very first PR communications podcast ever. We analyze current news and trends from a communication perspective with a short episode or two each week and a longer, more in-depth show every month.
Awesome. Where can people subscribe?
Well, they can go to firpodcastnetwork.com. They can find the show, of course, at marketingpodcast.net or search for Immediate Release wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard him, folks. Go subscribe.